Okay, this video is about the zero product property. You can actually figure out what this has to do with by looking at the name. Zero means zero. Product is the answer to a multiplication problem, and property means rule. So let's start with example 1. If I have the product of two things, let's say it's x minus 2, x plus 5, and it equals 0, I can use the zero product property. Why can I use it? Because it multiplies to 0, and it is a multiplication problem. So I know that either this has to equal 0 or that has to equal 0. I write two equations. And I solve them. So one possibility is that x is equal to 2. And the other possibility is that x is equal to negative 5. And those are my two solutions. That's it. If I were to plug in x equals 2 to here, 2 take away 2, that would be 0. 0 times whatever is 0. And if I were to plug in negative 5 here, negative 5 plus 5 is 0, and 0 times whatever is 0. Here's another example. Okay, here you might be tempted to distribute, but don't do that. You already have it written as the product of two things, and the answer is 0. So you immediately write your two equations. And then you solve. Well, this one's already done. That's one of your solutions. Your other one is simply x equals negative 4. Either of those would be possible. If x is 0, you have 0 times 4, that's 0. If x is negative 4, you'd have negative 4 times negative 4 plus 4, which is 0. 0 times anything is 0. Here's example 3. It gets a little more interesting. Okay, here. Remember, it's called the zero product property. I already have my 0, but I do not have this written as a product. So what you're going to do is you're going to factor it so that it's written as the product of two things equaling 0. So you can use the x. What two things multiply to 20 and add to 9? Well, you have 5 and 4. So now I have this times that equals 20. I can use the zero product property, write my two equations, x plus 5 equals 0, or x plus 4 equals 0. X equals negative 5, or x equals negative 4. And those are my two solutions, that's a 4. Now, you might be tempted here to say, I don't know, subtract 20 from both sides. I'm going to write a note over to the side. Don't do this. Don't, to solve this, subtract 20 from both sides. Because then, what are you going to do here? Like, how are you going to solve this? Let's say you divide it by 9. Well, then you'd have x squared over 9 equals x plus x equals negative 20 over 9. It gets complicated. So don't do this. Instead, you want to factor it, set it equal to 0, and then use the zero product property, and you're done. Okay, two more examples. Okay, example 4, so it gets a little bit harder. 4x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 3x squared plus 2x plus 2. Okay, we want to use the zero product property. In order to do that, we have to have it equal to 0. So step 1, set equal to 0. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to move all this stuff over to this side. How am I going to do that? I'm going to start by subtracting 3x squared. And notice how when I do that, I'm actually lining up the x squareds so that I'm going to be combining like terms. I can actually do this all in one step. To get rid of minus 2x, to get rid of plus 2x, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And finally, to get rid of plus 2, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. You could have also subtracted all this stuff over here. The reason I didn't do that is I didn't want to have my x squared be a negative. So instead, I'm moving all of this over here. Let's see what happens. 3 take away 3, that's 0. 2 take away 2, that's 0. 2 take away 2, that's 0. And I'm left with one big 0 over here. That's a 0. And then what do I have over here? Well, 4 take away 3, that's x squared. Negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5x. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. Okay, now I have a trinomial equal to a 0. Zero product property. I have the 0, but I don't have the product yet. So I need to factor this so that I have the product of two things equaling to 0. What multiplies to negative 6 but adds to negative 5? I have, let's see, negative 6 plus 1. So x minus 6, x plus 1. And then I have my two equations. X minus 6 equals 0, or x plus 1 equals 0. Then I add 6 to both sides. I have x equals 6, or subtract 1, x equals negative 1. And those are my two answers. Okay, so example 5 is going to have to do with geometry, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but we can do it. So I'm going to say the area of a triangle is 12 cubic feet. Find the dimensions. And here's my triangle. It looks like this. The base is x plus 2 and the height is x. So what do we know here? I know that I gave you the area. So I know this problem is about area and it's of a triangle. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write the area formula for a triangle. Area of a triangle, there's two ways you can write this. You could either write base times height divided by 2, or you could write a equals 1/2 base times height. These are the same. So it really doesn't matter at all which one you do. Let's say I use this one here. All I'm doing is I'm plugging in for my variables. So like, what's my a? Well, a is equal to 12. So I have 12 equals, what's my base? Well, this is my base right here. X plus 2 times my height is x over 2. Now I want to get rid of this 2 to solve, so I multiply both sides by 2. This cancels, and I get 24 is equal to x plus 2 times x. Let's see, I want it equal to 0, so I'm going to subtract 24 from both sides. Now, there's nothing to subtract from here because there's no like terms, so I'm just going to write it at the end like this. That makes 0, so I have 0 is equal to, and now I'm going to distribute this. So I have x times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x minus 24. 0 product property, I have the 0, I don't yet have the product. I have to factor this. Negative 24 and 2. What multiplies to negative 24? Adds to 2. It is 6 and negative 4. So I have 0 is equal to x plus 6, x minus 4. 0 product property, I have my product, so I write my two equations. X plus 6 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. Subtract 6, x equals negative 6. Add 4. X equals 4. Okay, we're not done quite yet. You have to think a little bit here. So x is either equal to negative 6 or 4. We're going to cross this out because a dimension cannot be negative. I can't have like a negative height be x. So what I'm gonna do is say, okay, oops, you guys can't see. There we go. I'm gonna cross out the negative one and say that x is equal to 4 because it can't be negative. So if x is equal to 4, my height is 4 feet, and my base is x plus 2, 4 plus 2, 6 feet. And that's my answer.